Good morning, everybody. So today's session I'll be taking is on food labeling. So why do you think is food labeling important? So most of them would have the answer that it will help the consumer to know the information regarding the food which is in the package. So whatever food is there in the package, the nutrition information, the allergens in it, everything is displayed. So why do you need this? So you need this because many a time the consumer doesn't know what is there exactly inside the packaged food, whether it will be harmful to that person or whether it will be beneficial. So, and others also who are manufacturers, they can mislead the consumer by putting whatever they want. So nobody is, pointing fingers at them that you have put this or that. But when you label the food, you are complying to all the norms. You are providing the consumer with a good quality product. So that is why food labeling is important, and FSSAI has made it mandatory to all the food manufacturing units to produce food packages along with the labels. So let's start with the topic. Let's start with the general requirements for food labeling. So whenever you declare something on the label, it should be either in English, Hindi, or in Devanagari script. No other language is allowed while printing anything on the food label. Only these three languages you can use. And pre-packaged food labels shall not be false, misleading, or deceptive. As I mentioned earlier, that whatever information you're putting it on the label should not be misleading or false to the consumer. The consumer must clearly understand what is written on the label. The label must not be separated from the packaging material or a container. So whenever a label is prepared, it should not separate out from the package or the container. You should not stick any extra label on it. So that is not allowed. Contents on the label shall be clear, prominent, indelible, and readily legible by the consumer. So as I mentioned earlier, it should be very transparent and very easy to understand for the consumer, and so that the consumer gets knowledge about the whatever food is there inside. If the container is covered by a wrapper, then the wrapper shall contain the necessary information. So whenever a container has one more wrapper around it, so instead of that container, the wrapper should have the labeling information on it. So let's go forward and see what all contents are mandatory by FSSAI, which you have to mention on the food label. So first we'll start with the name of the food. So the name of the food shall indicate the true nature of the product in the package. Whatever food you are packing, the name should indicate that. The name of the food shall include the trade name or brand name or the description of the food contained in the package. So you can see I have mentioned the image of Lay's. So Lay's is the name of the brand, and they have put up a potato chips sliced on the photo. So whatever you represent, whatever is inside in the package, you have to print it out. Next is the list of the ingredients. The list of the ingredients is not required for single ingredient foods. So whatever single ingredient foods are like cashew, almond, and other single ingredient food, you do not require to put the list of ingredients on it, on the label. The label shall contain the title, ingredient list, list of ingredients or ingredients. So whenever you mention the ingredient list on the label, you should put the title as ingredient slash, or otherwise you can put list of ingredients on the label. Name of the product shall be in descending order of their composition. So whatever the raw materials are used, whatever the ingredients are used in the product should be in the order of descending order according to the composition. Suppose if you are making a granola, so your composition of rolled oats is high. So you have to mention rolled oats. In the bracket, you have to mention the percentage. suppose it is 59%, so you have to mention it. And the next ingredient which is high in amount, like suppose it's honey, so you put honey 50%. So likewise, in the descending order, you have to mention all your ingredients. Compound ingredients. Now let me tell you what is compound ingredients. If an ingredient has a few more ingredients inside it, that is called compound ingredients. The compound ingredients present in a food product shall mention the ingredient in bracket and in descending order. So if a compound ingredients, for example, you are making a granola and you are putting cranberry in it, which is candied. So candied cranberry has sunflower oil and mostly sunflower oil and sugar. So whenever you are putting cranberry as an ingredient, you have to put inside the bracket as sunflower oil, comma, and sugar, and close the bracket. So you have to mention the compound ingredients also in descending order. If the composition of compound ingredient is less than 5%, then there is no need to declare it on the label, except for food additives. So whenever the compound ingredient percentage is less than 5%, then there is no need to mention the compound ingredients. So you can see how it's mentioned your whole grain, wheat, that is 84.1%, sugar, nuts, all the percentages given in the descending order. So this is how you should write the ingredients list. And above the ingredients topic is title is given. Next, if the water forms a part of the ingredient, part of the food product, then water should be mentioned in the ingredient list. If the water or other volatile ingredients are evaporated during the process of manufacturing, then there is no need to mention water in the ingredient list. Suppose if you, for the products such as gulab jamun or rasgulla, the water is present in the form of sugar solution or in the canned foods as brine or vinegar. So vinegar and water composition. So what water you have to mention in those products. Whereas in baking items such as biscuits or any other products where you are putting water inside the product, the water gets evaporated while baking. So there is no need to put water as in the ingredient list. Food that requires reconstitution shall declare their ingredient in descending order and shall contain a statement, ingredients of the product when prepared in accordance with the directions on the label. So whenever there is reconstitution food such as powder mixture, uh, wheat grass powder, wherein you just reconstitute in the water. So a statement like ingredients of the product when prepared in accordance with the directions on the label should be mentioned on the label. This is a mandatory requirement. So whenever you see a reconstituted food, this statement is necessary. So earlier I mentioned that a percentage of the ingredients must be mentioned on the pack in descending order. So that is also one of the requirements. If an ingredient is used as a flavoring agent, then disclosure of such ingredient is not required. Next we move on to is nutrition information. So as everybody knows that nutrition information helps us to know regarding what important carbohydrates, fats, proteins, what is the amount of it present in it. Nutrition information or facts per 100, nutrition facts for per 100 gram or 100 ml or per serving shall contain energy value in kcal. So kcal should be in small letters while printing in the nutrition facts label. Protein in grams, carbohydrates in grams, total sugars in grams and added sugars, total fats in grams, saturated fat in gram, trans fat in gram, and cholesterol in milligram. You should note that cholesterol should be mentioned in milligram and not in grams. Also, you have to note that saturated and trans fat has to be given only if the fat content is more than 0.5%. So if the fat content is less than 0.5%, you don't have to mention the saturated and trans fat. You have to mention sodium in milligram, vitamins and minerals in metric units. So let's go on to the next slide. Foods exempted from nutritional facts labeling. The following foods are exempted from mandatory nutritional labeling, like raw agricultural commodities, wheat, rice, cereals, spices, spice mixes, herbs, condiments, table salt, sugar, jaggery, and non-nutritive products like soluble tea, coffee chicory mixture, packaged drinking water, packaged mineral water, alcoholic beverages, fruits and vegetables, processed and pre-packaged vegetables and foods. Food served for immediate consumption and food not for retail sale are also exempted from nutrition facts labeling. So these all products doesn't require nutrition facts on their labels. Next thing we go on to is the non-veg logo. So earlier we had the non-veg logo as a brown circle and a square outside. But last year FSSAI had drafted this change because people who are color blind were not able to distinguish between the vegetarian and non-vegetarian logo because the structure was same and they were not able to distinguish between them. So FSSAI has now revised it into a triangle and a box, which is the logo for non-vegetarian. While the veg logo remains the same, which is a green dot and a box. So whenever you want to recognize whether the food is a veg food or non-veg food, you have to recognize these logos. First is this, which is for non-veg food, and this one for veg food. Now, food materials which does not come under the category of human consumption have a symbol of cross and a box outside. So package food, these are not for human consumption. Example is like puja water, ghee for diya, oil for puja, etc. All these things are not for human consumption. So this symbol is used. Now the size of the logo according to the principal display panel. So if the principal display panel is up to 100 centimeter square, it will be 3 mm in diameter. And above 100 centimeter square and up to 500 centimeter square, 4 mm. Above 500 centimeter square up to 2500 centimeter square will be 6. Above 2500 centimeter square will be 8. So these are the sizes you have to follow while printing the logo on your label. So most of them must be wondering what is principal display panel. So let me tell you, principal display panel is also known as PDP in short form. FSSAI had never mentioned it before, but in the draft which they have made last year, they have given the definition of principal display panel. So I have mentioned the same definition here. So let us understand what is principal display panel. Principal display panel means that part of the container package which is intended or likely to be displayed or presented or shown or examined by the customer under normal and customary conditions of display, sale or purchase of the food article contained therein. So normally this is whenever the consumer shops. So the main part that is facing the consumer, that is the principal display panel. So the area given by FSSAI for principal display panel is for rectangle shaped packaging. It is 40% of the area. For cylindrical or oval packaging, it's 40% of height and average circumference. For any other shape, it is 20% of the surface area. So these are the area that where you can display where you can say that this is the principal display panel. The height of any numeral or letter on PDP. So the height size is also given by FSSAI. So up to 100 square centimeter, it will be 1 mm. for normal case, and when blown or formed, molded or perforated on container, it will be around 2 mm. Above 100 square centimeter up to 500 square centimeter will be 2 and 4. Above 500 square centimeter up to 2500 square centimeter, it will be 4 and 6. And above 2005 centimeter, it will be according to it. So it's given all is given in the FSSAI guideline. So you can see what is the measurement. So whenever the width of the letter or numeral shall not be less than 1/3 of its height, but this provision shall not apply in case of numeral 1 and letters I Roman in Roman letter. So whatever the width is will be according 1/3 of the uh, 1/3 of whatever measurements of the principal area of the principal display panel is given. So here is an example of principal display panel. You can see the front part where they have mentioned the brand name and the name of the product is mainly the principal display panel where the net weight of the product is given. So let's see the placement of the veg and the non-veg symbol. The symbol shall be prominently displayed on the package having contrasting background. You can see I have given one example here of Gold Winner where the brand name is here and it's very close to the brand name. So you can see the veg logo which is very close to the brand name. So the first thing is that the package having contrasting background on PDP. So this is the PDP. Gold Winner is the PDP and the color should be contrasting. The color should not be green in color, otherwise the logo won't be visible to the consumer. Just close in proximity to the name or brand name of the product. As I said earlier, the logo should be very close to the brand name or the product name. Products exempted from the veg and non-veg logo include mineral water, packaged drinking water, carbonated water, alcoholic drinks, liquid milk, milk powders, and honey. So all these products are exempted from this logo, veg and non-veg logo. So there is no need to put logos on these products. Next is declaration regarding food additives. For food additives, we have INS number or E numbers where we can identify the which food additive it is. So there are many classes in food additives like acidity regulator, acids, anti-caking agents, anti-foaming agents, antioxidant bulking agents, etc. All these are, you know, food additives, the class of food additives. I have given an example of anti-caking agent. This is the way you have to write on the label. Anti-caking agent bracket INS 551 close the bracket. So INS or E number is fine with labeling. Next is declaration. Declaration, the statement that you have to give while you add coloring agents. If extraneous coloring matter is added in the food, there shall be display of the following statement in capital letters. So whenever you add extraneous coloring matter, you have to put the statements which are mentioned below, such as contains permitted natural colors or contains permitted synthetic food colors or contains permitted natural and synthetic food colors. So whenever whatever is feasible for your labeling, if you're putting natural, then natural colors. If you're putting synthetic food colors, synthetic. And if you're putting both, then you have to mention both. The INS or the name or INS number of the color shall be mentioned along with the statement. You have to mention what color, what is the INS number of the color that you're using, along with the statement or with in the ingredient list you have to put it. Declaration regarding food additive. This is for flavors. So whenever you add extraneous flavoring agents, the same it shall be mentioned in capital letters below the ingredient list, and the following statements such as contains added flavor. In case where both flavor and color is added, the following statements such as contains permitted natural colors and added flavors, or contains permitted food colors and added flavors, or contains permitted natural and synthetic food colors and added flavors. So these lines should is mandatory whenever you put the flavoring agent or coloring agent. See, I have given you the example of acidity regulators where this is marked acidity regulator E296, E330. So here they have used E number, or you can also write INS number. And they have also added the statement contains added flavor, natural and nature identical. In the bracket, they have added the class of the flavor, that is, they have used chart flavor. And one more thing that you have to mention, if your food is a proprietary food meaning a food which does not have any standard in FSSAI, uh, like if it's your own formulation which does not have a standard, that is known as a proprietary food. If your food product formulation is not given in FSSAI, then that comes under proprietary food. So if your food is proprietary food, you have to mention it on the label that it's a proprietary food. And one more thing I would like to add is that whenever you uh, put the proprietary food, you put also the category number, whatever category is your food. So, suppose if you are doing a labeling for the potato chips, then it comes under 15.1, that is snacks. 15.1 is the category which is given by FSSAI. So you have to mention the category also. 15.1 snacks. In case of artificial flavoring substance, the label shall declare the common names of the flavors. In case of natural flavors or nature identical flavors, the class name of the flavor shall be mentioned on the label. Like I had mentioned before, the class label should be mentioned on the label. In case of combined declaration of colors and flavors, the INS number shall be indicated either under the list of ingredients or along with the declaration. Any package of food containing synthetic food colors shall display a declaration giving the percentage of the total dye content. So whenever the synthetic food colors are used, the percentage of the dye, total dye content is very important, and that should also be mentioned on the label. Name and complete address of the manufacturer. So this is one of the most important things to be put on the label. So whenever the name and the manufacturer, name of the manufacturer, the license number, the address is compulsorily put on the label. So if the location where the manufacturer is manufacturing is different and the address of the manufacturer is different, then the license number of both, like the manufacturing unit and the manufacturer, must be given along with the FSSAI license, name and complete address. If a brand owner is manufacturing a product in the third party unit, the third party address, complete name and license number along with the brand owner's name and complete address and license number should be mentioned on the label. And if the food is imported into India, so the importer's license number, name and complete address should also be mentioned on the label. Uh, The address shall be preceded by, manufactured by, or MFG by, MFD by, or packed by, MKT by, marketed by. All these abbreviations can be used before writing the manufacturer's address or manufacturing unit's address. FSSAI logo and license number. So the FSSAI logo and license number under the Act shall be displayed on the label of the food package in contrast color to the background as below. So this is the logo that you have to mention it on the label. So it should be in contrasting color so that the label is visible. The license number is visible. Net quantity and consumer care details. Net quantity by weight or volume shall be declared on every package of food. So whenever the food is packed, the weight of the food during the packing of the food is considered to be the net weight. Okay. A food packed in a liquid medium shall carry a declaration of drained weight of the food. So whenever a food packed in a liquid medium such as rasgulla or gulab jamun, the weight of the rasgulla or gulab jamun minus the liquid should be mentioned in the net weight and not the overall weight, including the syrups. The net quantity to be mentioned on the label of the food products are given by legal metrology. So legal metrology comes in the picture of giving the uh, kind of net quantity. So suppose if you are packaging a baby food, so there is a provision where the legal metrology has mentioned that only 100 grams you can pack or only 200 grams you can pack. There is a rule book where legal metrology has given all the details how much grammage is to be added net quantity, and you cannot add it by your own. Like if you want to add 110 grams to be your net weight, you cannot do that. You have to go according to the legal metrology. The maximum permissible error for the net quantity according to the grammage is given by the legal metrology. So whenever you are packing of food, there is a possibility of the error in the packaging, like the weight, error in the weight. So there will be plus minus 3 or 4 grams of error. So legal metrology has given that standard where you'll understand that how much is allowed, how much plus or minus is allowed during the packaging of net weight. Suppose if you are packaging 30 grams of product, energy bars, 30 grams of energy bars in a packet. So whenever you pack it, there will not be exact amount of 30 grams of product inside the packaging material. There will be some error, like it will be more or less 1 or 2 grams. So the permissible level is given by the legal metrology. So for up to 50 grams, it is about 9%. For 50 to 100 grams of the product, it's about 4.5 grams plus or minus, and it goes on. So for 1 kg is around plus or minus 15 grams. So all these rules are given by legal metrology. Uh, Consumer care details include email ID, telephone number of the manufacturer or the brand owner. Either of them can put their details on the label. So they have to mention this on the label, the email ID, telephone number, in case the customer has some complaint, so that they can contact the company. So all these things are very essential and needs to be put on the label. A batch number and batch code, and MRP declaration. So you can see that the batch number is very important because when you get the batch number of a product, you are able to identify the product. And also the batch number helps in the traceability of the product. Whenever you get a complaint regarding a certain food product, and then you have to trace it back, like which batch it was prepared, and then for that purpose, you require batch or code identification. And for MRP declaration, the legal methodology has given the following illustration for declaration of retail sale price. So you have to, there are 4 ways you can write the MRPs, like maximum or max retail price. Rupee symbol is important. You either write as RS or a rupee symbol to be given. After that, the amount, that is if it's 100, then 100.00 and inclusive of all taxes. That line is very important. You have to mention it in the maximum retail price. So there are 4 methods which are given wherein you can write, you can display or declare the MRP. Next is the date of marking. Date of marking is the manufacturing or the packaging date of the product. Uh, date of manufacture or packaging, expiry, use by, best before date shall be in the manner of DDMMYY format for products up to a shelf life of 3 months. So whenever the shelf life of the product is below 3 months, expiry, use by, best before date can be used. Products with a shelf life of more than 3 months shall be declared in uncoded numerical sequence, except that the month shall be indicated by capital letters and abbreviations. So suppose if the product shelf life is more than 3 months, you have to write the expiry date as you have to write expiry date as 24th September. September you can write as write as SEP, three letters. Also you can write, or you can write full September 2020. So you can write it in that way also for products which are more than 3 months of shelf life. Any additional storage advice, if required to be mentioned on the label, should be also mentioned. So, additional advice for storage, like storing a refrigerator after opening the product, etc., can be also mentioned. So, let's see what are the exemption, what are the products which are exempted from the date of marking. Products such as fresh fruits and vegetables, wines, alcohol beverages with less than 10% of alcohol, vinegar, sugar boiled confectionaries, food grade salt for industrial use, chewing gums and bubble gums. All these products are exempted from the date of marking. So there is no requirement of date of packaging or expiry for these. So it's not necessary that all the food products should have date of expiry. Next is the country of origin for imported foods. Whenever the food is imported, the country of origin of the food shall be declared on the label of the food imported into India. So, suppose if you are importing almonds from US, then you have to mention that these almonds are from US, and which is very necessary, so that we can trace it back. Whenever we get any complaint, we can trace it back that the country of origin was US. When a food undergoes processing in a second country which changes its nature, the country in which the processing is performed shall be considered to be the country of origin for the purpose of labeling. So whenever a food is imported and a processing is done, suppose if you're importing a food from outside the country into India, and you are processing it, so the country of origin will be India and not from where you have got it. Next is instruction for use. Instructions for use, including reconstitution where applicable, shall be included on the label to ensure proper utilization of food, or where such food requires directions for reasons for health and safety. So you must have seen the instructions for use in many of the food labels. Like cooking instruction, I have given one example. Like you have to microwave, empty the contents into a microwave container and cover. Heat on full power for 2 minutes. Check the product is hot before serving. So these instruction helps the consumer to understand what kind of food it is, how to make it, and how to serve it. So it makes the life of the consumer very easy, and they are not confused as to what to do next. Next is the very interesting part on the food labeling, that is declaration regarding food allergens. So FSSAI has declared 8 food allergens. Let me introduce all the 8 food allergens. The following food and ingredients which are known to cause allergy shall be declared separately as contains dash, which is the name of the allergy causing ingredient. So whenever there is suppose wheat is present in your product, so you have to mention that contains wheat. So let's go which food products are allergens. So cereals containing gluten. So gluten is one of the allergen. Gluten triggers celiac disease in many people. So gluten containing products such as wheat, rye, barley, oats, spelt, or their hybridized strains, and products of these to be declared as name of the cereal. So cereals mentioned here in the bracket are all allergens. When if any of your product contains these, you have to mention it as an allergen. Crustacean and their products to be declared as crustaceans. So crustaceans are all mollusks and all shrimp uh, and all those fish products. So milk and milk products to be declared as milk. Eggs and egg products to be declared as egg. Fish and fish products to be declared as fish, and peanuts, tree nuts. So peanuts are different and tree nuts are different. Peanuts grow underground and tree nuts grow on trees. So there is always a confusion whether to put peanuts and tree nuts separately, or does peanut come in the tree nut section. But it is not so, they are separate. So tree nuts contain almond, walnut, pistachio, cashew nuts and their products to be declared as nut. So you can declare it as a general statement that it contains nuts. Soya bean is also one of the allergens mentioned by FSSAI, and also sulfides which are used as preservatives in many dried fruits to improve the color and flavor. They are used. So in concentration of 10 milligram per kg or more to be declared on the label. If your concentration is more than 10 mg per kg, then you have to declare it on the label, provided that in case presence of ingredients due to cross contamination which are known to cause allergy may be declared separately as may contains the name of the allergy causing ingredient. Suppose if your plant has allergen and non-allergen food products, then there is a chance of cross contamination between them. So if you think that your food product which doesn't have any allergen uh, can cause allergy because of the presence of any other allergen present in your factory, you have to write a statement may contains nuts or pecan nuts or whatever. So you have to write the statement may contains along with what allergen it contains. Suppose if it contains wheat as an allergen, so you have to write contains wheat. And if you think that another cross contamination can happen with any nut, so you can also write the statement as may contain nuts or may contain traces of nuts. Provided further that this declaration is not required in case of oils derived from these ingredients. So suppose you are using soya bean oil. So in soya bean oil, you don't have to mention that soya bean is an allergen. So that declaration is not required. Raw agricultural commodities are exempted from the allergen labeling requirement. So whatever raw commodities you get, agricultural commodities, they are exempted from allergen labeling. No need to do allergen labeling on them. So next is the example that I've given, how to label allergens. So you can see the ingredients which are given, and below you can see they have written may contain pecans. That means that there is a possibility of cross contamination which is unintentional. So whenever you think that there can be a chance of cross contamination which is unintentional, you can write the statement called may contain whatever the product you think can cross contaminate. In the section below, you can see the ingredients, and they have given the ingredients: wheat, egg, milk. Wheat, egg, milk are allergens. So they have written as contains wheat, egg, milk. So that is highlighted, and they have also written may contain pecans. So pecans is a type of a nut which is also an allergen. So they think that there is a possibility of cross contamination with pecan, so they have mentioned it that it may also contain pecan. Exemptions from certain labeling requirements. So there are certain food products which have some exemptions. So let's see what are those. Surface area of the package not more than 100 square centimeter. If the surface area of the packaging material is not more than 100 square centimeter, they are exempted from the list of ingredients, lot number or batch number or code number, nutritional information, labeling of irradiated food, declaration of food additives, license number and logo, the name and complete address of the importer, and instruction for use. So all these parameters are exempted in the package which has less than 100 square centimeter area, surface area. In case of liquid product that are reusable, like milk bottles, which can be reused to refill the milk again and again. So for such bottles, they are exempted from the list of ingredients. You don't have to you don't have to declare any list of ingredients on it. So food with shelf life of not more than 7 days, the date of manufacture may not be required to mention on the label. So these are the exemptions of certain labeling requirements. Let's see what are the labeling requirements of non-retail container. So non-retail container is basically the wholesale packaging that you get in bulk, so which are not for retail sale. So following are the requirements, labeling requirements for the bulk products. They should mention the name of the food, net quantity, SSSI logo and license number, date marking, lot number, name and address of the manufacturer or packer, including country of origin for imported packages. So these are the requirements for non-retail containers. Every package of fortified food shall carry the words fortified with whatever fortification is done, like iron or iodine. Whatever fortification is done, you have to write that name of the fortificant and the logo. The logo which is given below plus F and the logo as specified below on the label. It may also carry a tagline, Sampurna Poshan Swasth Jeevan, under the logo. So this tagline should also be mentioned whenever you fortify a food product. So this logo is very important for it. Next is the organic food. Whenever you have an organic food to be labeled, you have to give this logo, that is Jaivik Bharat. So this is for certified organic food products. Every package of certified organic food products as per food safety and standards shall carry the logo as specified below. So this is the logo for Jaivik Bharat organic food. And irradiation, as you all know, many of the food are irradiated. Now is the mango season. Also, the mangoes are also irradiated for export purposes. So irradiation carries this Radura logo, which is very important if you have irradiated your product, which is green in color, uh, and following information such as processed by radiation, name of the product, what product you are irradiating, purpose of radiation processing, purpose like disinfestation, or you want to reduce the microbial content of the food, or whatever the purpose of radiation is, that you have to mention. Operating license number. So wherever you do the radiation, the license number of that company. For example, we have irradiation facility in Vashi, that is MSMAB, where they do irradiation of food products. So their license number should be mentioned here. Wherever you do the radiation processing. Batch identification number should be mentioned, which batch it is, and date of processing, when the processing of irradiation was done, that you have to mention. Thank you guys, that's all for today, and that's all about food labeling, the basics.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a very detailed information on food labeling. I hope our audiences are completely imbibed with all the pointers and precise details you have quoted in today's webinar and session.